Here's the part 2 of our videos about the critical change to make with your program when things go wrong. This one we're going to talk about knee pain. All right, so when we're talking about knee pain, again, with all most of the concept behind this is getting out of vertical loading. So when I'm talking about knee pain, often the exercises or the particular movements that aggravate knees are things like this, being a squat. So you can see this is very much a knee-loaded movement. It has to be. It needs to be for you to do it correctly. So, but with a person with knee pain, they definitely can't squat to these depths. Usually trying to do all strange things to try and get away from the knee, and it's just very, very painful. All right, so things like lunges and even and a lot of one-leg things are very, very difficult to do. But that also means that your program is really trying to find a way to become better at this, because just like we discussed with the back pain, it's usually bending that's the problem. So it means you need to fix the bending problem and make it more efficient and then actually stronger and more stable so that bending is no longer a problem. For knee pain, it'd be like learning to squat or lunge again. You may not necessarily be 100% perfect, but you need to find a way to become more efficient at it, because this isn't an exercise. This is something you're going to need to do in daily life. So daily life's going to be a battle for you if you don't learn how to do it right. Right. So obviously, if you're going to have problems with it, you're going to have to come away from it. You can't keep banging your head against it. You're going to have to do something else. So one of the first things I'm going to do with knee pain is, when things go wrong and things are really inflamed, come down to the floor. So we come down and we can do some simple things. So we'll do, one of the simple things is to start loading the hip. All right, so when I start loading the hip, glutes and hamstrings, it takes a lot of pressure away from the overworking quadriceps and hip muscles and everything that's getting short, tight and really inflamed. I can really do a lot of work through the hip loaded stuff. So when I'm getting in this position, obviously I don't have any more pressure with my whole body weight being pushed into my knees or my hips and even my spine itself. So I can really start working the back of the legs and get some building some strength into the glutes. I can even work one leg in this position where it might be near impossible to do that standing up, where there'd just be too much pain and compensation around it. There's no point doing it, but I can still continue developing things on the floor, adding little bands, micro bands around the knee to encourage the better alignment placement. Obviously stability is improved here because there's no balance requirement because you're on the floor, but there's still a fair amount of strength required, right? But they're really simple exercises you can work on. Things like clamshells, I'm not like the massive fan of these. They can be very useful in some cases. In other cases, they may be a problem. But they can be one way that for some people that could be a great way to activate some glutes that aren't helping them align them, especially with lunges and one leg exercises where they might have the knees collapsing inwards because they can't control it. This could be one way that might help them to continue working on that, but without them standing up and putting pressure into the knee. Both of those two exercises then would not create any problems into the knee itself. All right, so that would be some of my go-to ones when things are bad. Usually it gives people a little bit of relief as they can feel the muscular side of their body working as opposed to the joint just being inflamed. Then I might include some type of mobility for the quadricep and the hip. So I'm going to show you a knee stretch. I could obviously use some foam rolling. This particular knee stretch Dylan's going to show could be too hard for some people. They can't actually kneel on their knee because their knee's so painful. Other people can kneel on it, they just can't move it. All right, so for the people who are like that, this is a great way to sort of get some mobility back into the knee itself. Obviously, it might include a lot of ankle things. I won't include all the stretches, just this main one. So this is like a hip and a knee stretch at the same time. Very, very useful. Can, in some cases, be a real game changer. It won't work immediately. You have to do it quite consistently for a period of time, but it does relieve a lot of pressure of the knee around the knee joint itself, especially when you're using it in combination with the hip extension and the clams and things like that. Now, if that's too hard, if you can't kneel on it, obviously you might have to try a standing version. So Dylan's going to show you here. Obviously, most people are very familiar with this, but holding onto a pole and then just grabbing your leg and just doing that quite a few times of the day. All right, so relieving a lot of pressure through the front of the knee itself. All right. So these last three exercises could be real go-to exercises depending on who the person is, especially the hip extension and the quad stretch. They're probably pretty much useful for every type of knee pain you'll come across. Now, the one time I do sort of break the rule of being vertical loading is with knee pain, and this is where the deadlift can be really useful because it's very much a hip-loaded movement. So you can see here, and especially this Romanian deadlift. So you can see how his knee, his shin, or his bottom part of his leg is just vertical. I don't need it to come forward at all, but I need his hips to really sit right back. So everything at the back of his leg here is being really loaded, but there's no work really being required of the knee and very little of the quadricep. They don't really have to do anything too great here. It's just all about the posterior side. So this is a great exercise for someone with chronic knee pain because they can actually lift quite a fair bit of weight and have no problems doing good form on this. But if I ask them to do a body weight squat, it'd be near impossible. All right, so this is a great way that they continue to working on their strength. Maybe they won't get the quadricep strength that they're really lacking, but this is a stepping stone towards it, and it can be a really useful exercise as a go-to when things go wrong in your strengthening program. So if you aggravate it from a squat or a lunge or a step up or something that you were trying to work on, say, to rebuild some of the quadricep strength that's most likely atrophied, and something happens, you can come back to doing this and reset things along with the hip extension and so forth and so forth. All right, and they're really good to have in your toolkit and know when to use them, and so you can take those calculated risks on those exercises that you need to learn, because without them you won't get any better. All right, so I hope this video gives you some ideas. Obviously, there's a lot of things I've left out. Check the description underneath the video here because there's a lot of articles that'll give you the missing things that I might also add in. I just don't include them all. I just want you to get the concept of what I'm trying to convey. All right. So I hope that helps you out, and we'll see you on the next one.